So a very good evening to one and all. Today, this class is for class 10 standard genetics. As we all know, we have seen the dihybrid cross in the previous class. This class is for genetics. Yesterday, in the previous class, we have seen dihybrid cross. Today, we will see these four topics. First of all, how are traits expressed? Secondly, sex determination in humans. Thirdly, sex-linked inheritance. Sex determination in humans means either male or female child. Sex-linked inheritance. What kind of disorder may take place due to X and Y chromosomes if the genes in that particular chromosomes are altered? X-linked inheritance. What kind of disease may take place if only X chromosome from the mother or from the father is altered? Now, first one is how are traits expressed. So, let's say a particular family is having a child, and that child is either fair or black. Means maybe the father is fair or the mother is black, or the mother is having a black coloration or father is having a fair coloration, sometimes altered also. That father is having black coloration and the mother is fair, and the child is either getting fair color or black color. Skin color I'm talking about. Skin color I'm talking about here. Now, we know very nicely that for a particular gene to be expressed, there must be two kinds of traits. Two kinds of traits or two kinds of character. Both are the same. One is alternate form. Traits are the alternate form of character, and character means which is expressive. Both are more or less same thing. Now, let us talk about a particular family where the child is fair. We know a gene is being expressed by two traits or by two character. Now, let us say a simple thing I would like to mention over here. Let us say a particular gene is expressed. We don't know whether it is fair or whether it is black. We don't know whether it is fair or whether it is black. Let's say a particular gene is expressed in a body, and this in a body of the young one, in a body of the baby or in the body of the child, and this gene is having two characters, one fair, one black, F and B. Skin color only I'm talking about here. Fair or black. Now, it may be possible the fair is dominant over the black or the black is dominant over the fair. Out of these two, the one which is dominant, the particular child will show only that one. Means if in the particular child gene, the fair is dominant, so the child will be fair. If the black is dominant, the child will be black. We know for a particular genes there are for a particular character to be expressed, there are two genes. One has to be dominant and one has to be recessive. Dominant will express itself, recessive will not express. Now, what we said, the mother, this is the biological symbol for the female. This is the biological symbol of the male. The mother is fair. The father is having a black coloration in the skin. Now, both the genes will go to the child. I repeat, both the genes will go to the child. Black will also go to the child, fair will also go to the child. The black will be also there, as well as the fair genes will be also there in the child. Two characters. For a particular gene to express, there must be two characters. Now, if the fair is dominant, the child will be fair. If the fair is dominant, the child will be fair. If the fair is not dominant, if the black is dominant, the child will have a black coloration. The child will have a black coloration. This is how the traits are expressed. Both the genes from the mother and father will go to the child. As a summary, I am telling you, both the genes. Let's say for the curly and the straight hair. The curly hair genes from the father will also go, and from the curly hair genes and the straight hair genes from the mother will also go to the child. Out of that, if the curly hair is dominant, the child will get the curly hair. If the straight hair is dominant, the child will have the straight hair. Simple. Both the genes will reach to the child, but out of the dominancy and recessive nature. Means if the curly hair is the dominant one, curly hair will be shown. If the straight hair is the dominant one, the straight hair will be shown. Means both the genes will go to the child. Out of those two genes, the dominant one will express, the recessive one will not express. I guess it's clear to you. This is how the traits are expressed. Both the genes will go from mother and the father. Out of that, the dominant will express, the recessive cannot express. It doesn't mean the mother's gene will only be dominant or the father's gene will only be dominant. No. Either of the two may happen. Either the mother's genes will be dominant or the father's gene will be dominant. This is how the traits are expressed. Now next is the sex determination in humans. Sex determination in humans. Please listen to it. Sex determination in humans. Sex determination in humans. See how it happens. Male and female, two sexes are there in human. The male, this is the biological symbol for the male, the biological symbol for the male, the biological symbol for the female. The male is having the chromosome XY. We know in our body, and the female is having XX. We know in our body there are 23 pairs of chromosomes. 22 pairs, I repeat, 22 pairs of chromosome are body chromosomes known as autosome. Auto, A-U-T-O, auto. Autosomes, A-U-T-O-S-O-M-E-S. So 22 pairs are autosomes. And last one pair of chromosome is the allosomes. Last one pair is the allosome. 22 pair chromosome is the autosome, that is the body chromosome present in the body. Last one pair is the allosome, that is the sex chromosome present in the reproductive organ, that is in the ovary of the female and in the testis of the male. Now let us start how the sex determination takes place. We know females are XX, means only one type of egg will form, ovum, and that ovum will have XX chromosome. The male is XY, means two kinds of sperm will form. One sperm will have X, another sperm will have Y chromosome in it. For female, no problem, XX. Pure line genetics. No proper impure line. Only pure line, only two chromosomes are there, X and X, that's all. But for male, the things are changing. Males are having two chromosomes, X and Y. These X and Y are known as sex chromosome. Here this XX are also known as the sex chromosome. But here there will be two kinds of sperms forming in the male, having two different chromosomes. One is having X, another one will have Y. Means 50% of the chromosome we can say is X chromosome and 50% of the sperm will be containing Y chromosome. 50% of the sperm containing X chromosome, 50% of the sperm will be having the Y chromosome. Now, when this X chromosome containing sperm will fertilize the female, when this X chromosome containing sperm will fertilize the female, XX, that is female child. And when this Y chromosome containing sperm will fertilize the X ovum, that is XY, means male child. So the women are not responsible for the girl child or a boy child because they are following pure line genetics. From the male side only, the sex is determined. Even the male is also not involved in it because they are not knowing which kind of sperm will be fertilizing the ovum, which kind of sperm containing chromosome will be fertilizing the ovum. Because 50% is X, it is just a probability. To have a son child or to have a daughter child is just a probability. To have a girl or a boy child is just a probability because 50% is the X and 50% is the Y. So what happens if X will fertilize the X ovum? X containing sperm will fertilizing the X ovum, XX, female child. Y containing sperm fertilizing the X ovum, male child. So it is not at all the female is responsible. So it is from the male side that they are having two types of chromosome containing sperms. Ovum of the female is having one pattern of chromosome, that is XX. So it is determined, even the male is also not responsible for it because they are not knowing whether they are having X containing sperm is more or Y containing sperm is more. It is just for the probability I have written that X containing sperm is 50% or Y containing sperm is 50%. So having a girl child or a boy child is the probability, only 50-50 chances there. I hope this thing is clear to you, how the sex is determined. I hope it's clear. Now we will learn about sex-linked inheritance. Sex-linked inheritance. We'll learn about sex-linked inheritance. Sex-linked inheritance. As I said, the human male XY, human female XX. Now, this XY is the chromosome pattern for human male. XX is the symbolization of the human female. These are the chromosomes. Chromosomes contains of genes. Now, any kind of alteration takes place in the X chromosome of the male or in the Y chromosome of the male, or else in the XX chromosome of the female, that will relate to cause the disease. That will relate to cause the disease. Now, what happens? Any kind of chromosomal or genetical changes, it is known as genetical changes because XX and XY, they are the chromosomes, and in the chromosomes only the genes are present. So we know very nicely in XY as well as in XX, these are the chromosomes. In these chromosomes the genes are present. Now any kind of alteration takes place in this X or else in this X or else in this X, that will lead to X-linked inheritance. And any kind of things will take place in Y. Any kind of alteration is taking place in the genes of the Y chromosome. Any kind of alteration is taking place in the genes of the Y chromosome, because these are chromosomes. Chromosomes contains genes. So any kind of changes is taking place in the genes of the Y chromosome. The genes present in this chromosome is known as Hollandric genes. Hollandric, HOLANDRIC. Genes present in the Y chromosome is called as Hollandric gene. So this is any kind of change is done in the Hollandric genes, means genes present in the Y chromosome, that will also relate to the change in the human males. Especially a special type of genes Y chromosome is carrying for the human male, it is known as Sry gene. Sry gene. This Sry genes is allowing to increase the secondary sexual characters in the human males, like beards, especially the growth of the genitalia, means the reproductive parts of the human males. This Sry genes is responsible for the growth of the secondary sexual characteristics and to increase the masculine gender, to increase the masculine characteristics of the human males. So I guess it's clear to you. Sex-linked inheritance means any kind of changes takes place in the sex chromosomes. That is in the XY human male, XX human female. Any kind of genes present in the Y chromosome is known as Hollandric genes. These genes are known as Hollandric genes. So any kind of change in it is considered as the change in the Y chromosome, which is very rare in human male. Especially this X-linked inheritance is only the majority ones. The Y-linked inheritance is very much rare. So I guess it's clear to you. Now, apart from this, we will talk about X-linked inheritance. We'll also talk about today X-linked inheritance. X-linked inheritance. In X-linked inheritance, what happens? For example, there are two parts. There are two parts for this X-linked inheritance. X-linked dominant and X-linked recessive. What happens in X-linked dominant? The things are just different here. In X-linked dominant, what happens? Let us talk about human female XX, human male XY. Female, male. what happens here? If any kind of alteration takes place in the chromosome, in the genes present in the chromosome X, that is known as X-linked inheritance. Now, if any kind of alteration takes place in the XX chromosome or in the XY chromosome, means only the X the alteration is targeting, only the X pattern of chromosome that alteration is targeting, and if that alteration is dominant, then surely in male also it will express, in female also it will express. Means, let us say a person chromosome genes is altered, that person is having hemophilia disease or sickle cell anemia. Hemophilia means blood will lose, continuous bleeding, there will be no clotting of blood. And if that particular thing, that particular alteration done by hemophilia is dominant, then that female will also get and male will definitely get. Why? Because X chromosome is larger in size. This is the size of the X chromosome and this is the size of the Y chromosome. Since it is larger chromosome, it is having lot of genes present. It's a smaller chromosome, very less genes are present. So if anything will happen to X chromosome, especially in males I am talking about, if anything is happening to X chromosome, the Y cannot tackle it. Y cannot suppress it because Y itself is less in size, smaller in size. So Y cannot tackle it properly. But if anything will happen in female, they are having similar size of chromosomes, similar, more or less same content of genes present in them. If any one chromosome will alter its gene, the other chromosome, the other X chromosome can suppress it because they are having similar gene. But Y is lesser in size, Y will not tackle it. Y will just leave out. Means Y will not at all interfere about the work going in X, about the thing going in X. Means we can say if in a human female, what I have talked about X-linked dominant, if the disease is, if the particular X chromosome is having the genes altered and that altered gene is dominant, it will show for human female also and it will show for human female also. Human male also, human female also. But the thing is that it needs to be dominant. It needs to be dominant. But if in some cases, which is X-linked recessive, in this cases, what happens if the particular disease or particular alteration of genes in the XX chromosome is recessive and in the XY also it is recessive. Let's talk about XX and XY. XY. So we know XX similar in size, more or less same genes. Now what happens in X-linked recessive? That if one gene is altered in this X chromosomes, then the next X chromosome can suppress it because it is recessive. That alteration is recessive. But in dominant, that X chromosome cannot do because it is dominant. If I said about dominant, that if in particular X chromosome, if the particular gene is altered, then the other X chromosome cannot tackle it because that alteration is dominant. And in Y also it cannot because Y is already very small, it cannot tackle with X, it cannot manage up with X. But in recessive, what happens? If a particular alteration takes place in X-linked recessive, if a particular alteration is recessive, then the next X chromosome can suppress it. But again in human males, if the particular alteration is recessive, then also the Y cannot suppress it. Why? The reason is Y is very small, it cannot tackle. In both the cases, Y for human male, the male will be diseased. The male will be diseased. But in X-linked recessive, there is a chance that human female won't be recessive because X can suppress and that female will only become a carrier. That female will only become a carrier. She will not express the disease. She will only become carrier. Later her next generation may express the disease, but she herself will become carrier only because it is X-linked recessive. If the alteration is recessive, then other X chromosome can suppress it. But in dominant, it is nothing like that. If the gene present is altered in the X, then other X chromosome cannot suppress it. Why? Because it's already the alteration is dominant. Here the alteration is recessive, so X can suppress it. Here the alteration is dominant, X cannot suppress it. But in both the cases, human male will get the disease because Y itself is very small. And in dominant also, as well as in recessive also, the male will get the disease. Why? Because Y cannot tackle with the chromosomal disorder what is going on in X. I hope you can understand this. Please match it with your text and go through the video properly. If any doubts, you can ask in the comment section. Thanks a lot.